It's been a busy year. I'm looking forward to discussing how President Trump's trade policies bearing fruit for American workers. I note your comments on the submission of the testimony and assure you that we take that quite seriously and will ensure that that won't happen again, so thank you. As you know, President Trump inherited the largest trade deficit in human history, $1.2 trillion annually. Between 2020 and 2024, the last year of the Biden administration, the U.S. trade deficit in goods increased by over 40%. The trade deficit worsened every year by an average of nearly 8% during that period. The result was a trade and domestic production picture that was moving in the wrong direction for American workers. Business sentiment for manufacturing had cratered, wallowing at negative 6 or 7% for much of President Biden's last 2 years in office. After initial recovery from the COVID-19 crisis, manufacturing jobs under President Biden dropped from 12.9 million in January 2023 to 12.67 million in January 2025, a loss of 230,000 manufacturing jobs in just 2 years under President Biden. Our supply chain risks also grew as critical production remained reliant on foreign sources or moved offshore. With the loss of domestic production, especially for food, prices remained high. Consider that in just 4 years, President Trump's first-term agricultural trade surplus had been replaced under Biden by the largest agricultural trade deficit in U.S. history. These circumstances arising from our trade deficit and more broadly our current account deficit represent a national emergency. And it's an emergency that Congress has recognized for decades. In the 1988 Omnibus Trade and Competitiveness Act, Congress made clear that, and I quote, "The principal negotiating objective of the United States regarding current account surpluses is to develop rules to address large and persistent global current account imbalances of countries, including imbalances which threaten the stability of the international trading system, by imposing greater responsibility on such countries to undertake policy changes aimed at restoring current account equilibrium, including expedited implementation of trade agreements where feasible and appropriate." And that's exactly what the President has done. In response to our growing trade and current account deficits, in just 1 year, a combination of tariffs and deals has helped drive a reversal in these trends. Since the introduction of the President's reciprocal trade program in April 2025 through February 26, the latest available data, the U.S. trade deficit in goods decreased by 24% compared to the prior period. Instead of an average 8% increase, we've now started reversing the trade deficit. And as the chairman pointed out, a large part of this is attributed to reduced dependence on China. Our trade deficit in goods with China fell to $200 billion in 2025, the lowest it's been since 2004. And China's share of total U.S. imports fell to about 9%, the lowest it's been since China joined the WTO in 2001. The President's program has also driven manufacturing business sentiment well above the low levels seen during the Biden years. Real manufacturing worker pay has increased by $2,400 in 1 year under President Trump after falling $830 over the course of the Biden administration. Manufacturing productivity surged by 2.4% in the last quarter of 2025. Manufacturing wages increased by 4.7%. In other words, the average American manufacturing worker is producing more goods and getting paid more to do so. There are nearly 440,000 manufacturing job openings in the U.S., providing lots of opportunity for under and unemployed Americans to take jobs in the manufacturing sector. And in 2026, we have the first quarter of positive manufacturing job gains since a long-term trend of decreases that started in 2023 under President Biden. And we've seen that the capital goods used for production are skyrocketing during President Trump's term, with orders exceeding $4 billion each month of the fourth quarter of 2025. These are levels not seen since before China's entry into the WTO. So we're seeing large demand for labor and manufacturing in the United States. As the chairman pointed out, our agricultural community is one of the largest beneficiaries of these policies, with double-digit growth in exports in 2025 for key commodities like corn and dairy, and the ag trade deficit is finally falling again. Our service providers are benefiting from new market access. We have negotiated a number of new trade agreements in a very short time. And since 1985, the United States negotiated 14 free trade agreements. In the last year alone, we concluded 9 agreements on reciprocal trade, and additional 9 framework deals that will become agreements on reciprocal trade. It's no coincidence that following this blitz of deal-making, U.S. exports reached $302 billion in January 2026 and $315 billion in February 2026, the highest monthly export figures in U.S. history. So when I hear people saying that trade isn't going well and we're exporting more than we've ever made before, and our workers are making more and getting paid more to do it, we know we have success. The entry of China into WTO in 2001 cost this nation millions of jobs and tens of thousands in factories. One recent study found that the negative health outcomes for workers that lost their jobs due to NAFTA outweighed any welfare gains associated with that trade deal. So as we move from the damaging trade policies of the past toward a global system of reciprocal and balanced trade, my team and I, we consult with and will continue to consult with this committee, its staff, and other members of Congress. We've held over 1,000 briefings with members of Congress and their staff since the beginning of the administration on every aspect of our work. And we intend to continue these robust consultations. I hope today we can have an honest conversation about the need for and value of this new direction of trade policy, something that's been years in the making and is long overdue. Thank you.